Wonderful, precious, unique child of God, I welcome you on today's show to help us in spreading good vibes to the whole world by reacting to some good vibes videos that we have today. Some of these videos, my friend, have mysterious information about the things that are going on in the world right now. Others are animal videos, other videos even talking about our creator, and many more videos. Others myself have never ever come across, and we shall be going through them together and with the intentions, wonderful soul, of spreading peace and love to the whole world, ensuring all earthlings are honest, forgiving towards one another, and always asking for repentance from our Creator. Is it true, my friend? Is that what we do? Yes, that is exactly what we do. So wonderful, child of God. Hit that like button, you see, and I challenge you to press that which one? Super thanks button as I take this minute to read for you some word here from the book of wisdom. If it's your first time, my friend, this book have served in increasing wisdom in our lives. Today it says, and he said to the man, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to shun evil is understanding. Only that. From Job 28:28. Wonderful. Interesting creature. Just like you have heard, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. We here always start our show by speaking with our Maker and Creator. Let's do so before we start together. Yeah. Please do so from wherever you are also. Dear Lord Father, thank you for this chance to be together with your child, Father. Dear Lord, thank you for the videos that have been compiled for us, Father. All glory and honor belong unto you, Father. Forgive us all our sins as we go through these videos, Father. Help us to spread love and peace together with this viewer, dear Lord. Help us to impact people's lives with goodness, Father, and intervene in our lives, Father. May this viewer, dear Lord, have an experience like no other in this episode. In your holy name, Jesus Christ, we pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Time to dive in. Good vessel.
You give birth. The doctor comes into the room and asks your husband and only your husband if he wants to do a DNA test to make sure the baby's his. He says yes. Is he wrong for that?
Here's my whole philosophy on getting the baby tested to see if it's your baby afterwards, right? This is my philosophy on it. If the woman has a problem with you testing to see if the baby's yours, one of two things is going on here, right? Either she's sneaky and she knows the baby's not yours, or she thinks there's a possibility it might not be yours, right? And here's the other way. I know I said two, but A and B in one, all right? Anyway, the second one is she lacks some type of basic fundamental consideration for her partner's feelings. She lacks that because you as a woman, you will never, ever have to worry about a child not being yours possibly. You will never, ever know the fear of possibly raising a child that's not yours. You will never understand that fear. The same way women like to say, you'll never understand what it's like to be a woman walking alone at night. Okay, you will never understand what it's like to have a child, raise that child, think it's yours, and then you find out maybe on its 18th birthday. Shoot, it would even hurt on its first birthday, second birthday, that child you have been raising that you fell in love with all this time isn't even yours. So if you know you weren't cheating, and you have any type of consideration for your husband or partner, you wouldn't mind him testing to see if the baby's his. Matter of fact, you would want him to test to see if the baby's his, just so you have a certificate of proof that, yeah, this is your baby. This is yours. There's no mistaking it. This is yours. So yeah, I don't understand why you would ever have a problem with testing. That's like me going to the jeweler and I bring out a diamond tester when he pulls out the diamonds and the jeweler gets offended. Like, oh, so you think my diamonds are fake? No, not necessarily, but I want to make sure they're real. Come on now.
We're filming this video on location over a period of several days. I'm going to tell you where we are and what's going on. So one evening last week, it was almost dark, not quite. We'd put our son to bed. It was a school night. and my beautiful bride dearly, aka Giggly Girl, and myself were actually going to bed very early. It was dusk, and someone knocked on our door, which is odd because that just never happens. We live way out in the middle of nowhere. We have gates, we have security cameras, we keep to ourselves. So I got a little nervous at first, so I reached over to the nightstand, opened the drawer, and felt around in there, grabbed my what we'll call protection. Okay, I grabbed my crayon. So I took my crayon and I made my way to the door. I opened the door, and there stood this little old man, hunched over, probably 80 years old. And he said, "Are you the one they call Crazy Lake?" And I said, "Well, sir, I reckon I am." He goes, "We got to talk." So I stepped out on the porch. He sat down without even being invited to do so. And I'll try to make this short, which, as you know, I'm not very good at. He goes on to tell me that he lives in an old cabin on top of the mountain. This mountain that is several miles away from our place if you take the road. But if you walk up the hill, as I've been doing this week, and you're going to understand why here in a minute, it's about 3/4 of a mile. Now, he lives by himself. His wife's been dead more than 20 years. He's always in the forest cutting firewood. He's got his gardens. He grows most of his own food. And he said that he has experienced some strange things, and it just occurred to him about a week ago that they're very similar to the things we've been experiencing on our homestead. And ironically, like I said, he's only 3/4 of a mile away above us. So how he came to know about us and what we had going on was that he said, these are his words, he says he had a family of do-gooders from some church who likes to come out about twice a week and bring him provisions. He says he doesn't really understand why, because he's got money in his basement piled up to the floor, and it's so old it's got mold growing on it. You guys know the type. But he says he likes them, he enjoys talking with them, gives him somebody to talk to a couple times a week. And he tells their teenage children these stories about some of the experiences he has on his property, and they cling to every word, and he kind of gets a kick out of it. And so he doesn't tell them, he doesn't need their provisions. He takes them, happy to see them every 2 weeks. So he said last week, when this family came up to bring him stuff he didn't really need because he can afford to buy it himself, one of the kids had their gadget, as he called it, but it was a cell phone. And they said, look, this is like the stuff you're talking about. And they were showing him the videos. Now, of course, he recognized our place because his family's been here on the land for 6 generations. That's how he got all that old moldy money. I don't think anybody in his family's had to work since too long after the settlement of Jamestown. But he said he didn't tell them too much when he watched those videos, but he knew in his head that we were having the exact same experiences down here that he's having on top of his mountain. So he said, "Look, Crazy Lake," he says, "I got trees down to everywhere, as you can see here, and I'll give you another view." He says, "I got red oak, he's got some hickory, I got the best firewood burning logs all over my place." He said, "And I'm kind of afraid to go out there and cut them because every time I do, I feel like these things," he called them wood boogers. He says, "I feel like these boogers are just all over me, just staring through me." And said he's getting older, it's getting to be hard work anyway. He says, "Look, if you come up and you bring your little cardboard cutouts and you bring your camera, he says, if you're willing to work on my place for about a week, cut up some of this wood." He says, "You take half, leave me half. See if you can get anything on camera to confirm my suspicions. I'd really appreciate it. And you can have as much wood as you want, as long as you only take half." So I said, "All right, that's a deal. Sounds like a win-win to me." And so here we go over the course of the next several days. And I've been over here cutting for several days already, as you can see. And yes, I've had the hair on the back of my neck stand up a few times. So we're going to see what we can get on camera. So pay very close attention. Get ready to put timestamps, what you think you see or hear, and what you think it is, what time in the video you think it is. And let's see if we can confirm for this kind old hermit man with all that moldy money in his basement, his suspicions.
Yo, take a look at this. Okay, this is done at S25 Ultra Zoom. Look at this. This is unbelievable. This phone can zoom from this distance. No way, my God. This is crazy technology.
When men have a midlife crisis, they get a younger wife and a sports car. right? I think society tells you, like, look at George Clooney. Like, he's got the same wrinkles that I do, the same punch on his stomach, but he is hot and I am not.
I thought this video was so out of touch, and it really shows the lack of self-awareness of how a lot of women view, like, you know, the troubles or things that men go through, because here's the truth. She goes on to say in her video that men, you know, their midlife crisis, oh, it's not even that bad because, you know, most men's midlife crisis, they get a sports car and a young hot wife. No, those are rich men. Those are rich men who get to have those experiences. And what do you think those rich men, what do you think their younger days were like compared to the females' midlife crisis? So the reality is when men are younger compared to women, women are going to have a much more, you know, fun and, you know, exciting life compared to a man, because the thing that makes a man most of the time more valuable to society and other women is the stuff that he could provide. So typically that's obtained later. So typically a man's young experience is that he's honestly pretty isolated, he's pretty lonely, he's working all the time. And girls, they're given a lot of stuff because girls, you know, typically are just given stuff based on their appearance. I'm not saying that's right, not saying that's wrong. So what happens is the men who are getting these hot young wives in a sports car, that's typically because, let's say in her reality, all men are, you know, rich and all this stuff, but, you know, that's not even most men. But those men typically worked for years and years and years, and finally, let's say they're rich when they're 35, 40 years old, okay? Then yeah, you know, then when they're 50 and maybe they went through a divorce, they're making up for all that lost time where they didn't have any of that in their early 20s. But that girl who was in her 20s got to have a lot of fun pretty early. And it really is such a delusional belief that most men, when they're going through a midlife crisis, could just get a young, hot wife. Like, that is absolutely not true. The only men who get young, hot wives when they're old and unattractive, in her words, are going to be rich men. And do you think every man in their 50s is rich? Because you understand that's 3% of America. And I'm not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, but the reality is because most women get to experience a lot of more, you know, exciting things and fun things early on in their life when they're honestly 17 through 26 years old, you know, yes, it goes on a decline as they get older, but vice versa, it doesn't happen for men. You know, typically we work all the time and we're not proven to be valuable until we have things going for ourselves. So typically our life looks better if you did everything correctly around like high 20s to like late 30s. But to me, it comes across like a shaming tactic, because most girls have absolutely no issue when they're younger using older men for all the things that they're giving, whether it's like boats, money, you know, taking them out to expensive places. But then when they become older, and then those older men are still doing the thing that they were taking advantage of when they were younger, now it's like, oh, dude, look what they're doing. So listen, you guys got to have a lot of fun when you guys were a lot younger than us, and we did not. So maybe that's his time to shine. But to sit there and say that every man could just go get a hot young wife in a sports car in their 50s during their midlife crisis, you're delusional. But that's just my opinion. But hey, what do you think?
In 1989, when this little fella here, this very heavy, hard little fella, when he passed between Sirius A and our sun, with its Earth going around here, for 2 weeks prior to that very moment, in 1989, our Earth sped up in its, I think it slowed down first, a couple of seconds in its revolution, and then once this went away, it sped up again. When you understand how important this is, you see, the Egyptians taught us that this was Isis. This is the most important star in the sky. Osiris, Isis, and that's where Sirius comes from, you see. Sothis of the Greeks. The dog. This dog is the dog star, and it dogs our star. Okay? Now, because it follows it. It appears to be following our star. Now, when this, in 1989, this star was in between our Sirius A and our sun, this is what happened. The Earth's rotation period relative to this star, the spin rate slowed down in 89, losing a full second per day for a period of several weeks before the event, and then sped up again, gaining a second per day for several weeks after the event. Take note of that, man. That's a star that's 8 light years away. It slowed and sped our Earth. So when people say, oh, the influence of the stars, well, imagine if that star way over there, now imagine all the planets that are getting around our solar system that are so closer and so much more dynamic in our solar system, imagine what they are doing. In fact, you will learn that they are doing everything that you see, everything, every material shape that is in your eyesight is manifested by those seven orbs in our solar system. Without them, no manifestation. This doesn't happen. Poof. Take away the sun, we're gone. Take away the moon, Jupiter, any one of them, we're gone. You cannot damage that configuration.
What the fuck? For months I thought, no, there just must be like a lot of like pebble debris from going up and down the pike so often. Surely it could not be a bunch of fucking woodpeckers that live outside my house and are very confused.
You're right. They couldn't crack that iPhone, and Apple refused to help them, and it went to court, and Apple won. They ended up turning it over to an Israeli company, and the Israeli company charged the FBI $6 million, and they cracked it. But the information that would have disrupted the attack didn't come from the phone.
Wait, Apple never turned it over to the FBI?
And Apple wouldn't open the phone for the FBI.
Really?
No, they would not. They were staunch about it.
Okay.
In fact, the FBI director complained later that it was $6 million of the taxpayers' money that otherwise didn't need to be spent. Well, actually, yeah. To protect our civil liberties, yes. Yes. Apple did the right thing. But the information that would have disrupted that attack did not come from the phone. It came from the game system. Have you ever seen the Netflix series Fauda?
No.
F-A-U-D-A?
No, I haven't.
It is one of the best TV series I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
It's an Israeli series,
I'm
but
gonna write it down while you
sure, F-A-U-D-A or F-A-W-D-A. I can't remember. But anyway, it's an Israeli series, but it was made by a group of guys who were former Shin Bet and former Mossad. But it really does give you a balanced view between the Israelis and the Palestinians. It's shocking that they were able to even make something like this. Yeah. Like you're gonna have sympathy for both the Israelis and the Palestinians in this. Like you're gonna want both sides to win, which doesn't make any kind of logical sense. But anyway, in the most recent season, there's this ongoing thing that they do where they only communicate with each other through a backgammon app, right? Because the Americans, the Russians, the Chinese, the Israelis, the French, the British, everybody's intercepting everything, right? Phones and emails and text messages and intercepting everything. Nobody's looking at...
Y'all, watch this demon, y'all. This will be going on in the spiritual world for real.
That's right.
Watch
High
this.
school calculus.
She the one who can see the demon in the show called Evil on Netflix. Watch this.
No, I'm a sound recordist, but once I did have to use calculus.
Well, I'm very proud of you.
Look at the slime. She see the demon now. I'm convinced this will be going on. They don't even know it's right there. Look.
I'm Amalia. Sister, remember the one that kept smoking in the bathroom?
This was going on for real, in real time, y'all.
Yes, Amalia, yes.
Are you okay?
David, could I see you for a second?
This was going on.
Yes.
I hope you're not holding my smoking against me, sister.
I don't smoke anymore. No, Amalia.
Have y'all seen this?
I can't believe it. This is not me in that car, yeah. I can't believe it. Oh my God.
Kind of a time to not really know what to do, so.
At random too. Why? I don't get it.
I don't have any answer. How old is Brian?
He's 19.
He's 19.
What's going on, man?
Cooperate. I am going to cooperate.
Okay, so parents have some concerns of some stuff they may have found in your room?
Yeah, I believe so.
And what would it be?
A human head and hands.
Like, for real human head and hands?
Yes.
From?
That fellow who went missing recently.
Which fellow was that?
Warren Brown.
Warren Brown? When did he go missing?
The night of the 27th.
The night of the 27th? Okay, and how did you end up with him?
I murdered him.
With what?
A knife.
Why would you have done that?
I've always wondered what murder felt like.
Okay, mamas. Can you imagine finding a severed head in your child's room? I am definitely going down this rabbit hole. The mom was cleaning the kid's room, 19-year-old Brian, right? And found a severed head of a man who went missing. What do you do at that point? My heart breaks for her, but he said he wanted to see what it was like to murder somebody. That is wild, y'all. That is wild. That is extremely upsetting, but I am definitely going to go down this rabbit hole because I want to see the whole backstory of what would make this young boy want to murder somebody. Go ahead and find him, chop him up, and keep his severed head. I am here for the story, guys. I will let you know what I find.
When you're asked in a job interview, tell us about yourself. Don't panic. And whatever you do, don't just talk for 30 seconds. It's impossible to explain your career or summarize your accomplishments in 30 seconds. And you can't blather on for 20 minutes either. So here's a great framework that I came up with to keep you on track and to tell them what they want to hear. You're going to first talk a little bit about your past, tell them why you went to college, why you majored in what you majored in, maybe your first couple jobs or if you had an impressive internship. And then present, what are you currently doing at your job that would qualify you for this position? And then move into the future. Don't just stop talking once you've talked about your current job. I want you to move the conversation forward by asking them questions about this role or even telling them how excited or enthusiastic you are about this position. Because you can never go wrong by telling someone that you're interested in this job, you're excited for this opportunity, that you would be a great fit for the organization. That's how you end that answer. So when someone says, tell me about yourself, I want you to focus on those three things in that order: past, present, and future. I hope that helps.
So if the airplane's cruising at 37,000 feet and the oxygen outside the airplane is not breathable, how is the air on the inside of the airplane breathable? That's kind of interesting because there's not big oxygen generators on the inside of the airplane producing oxygen all the time. In fact, we do have those, but they're only for emergencies. In other words, if we have a depressurization in the airplane and the masks drop down, that's when those big oxygen generators come into service and they begin to provide oxygen while I start a descent down to a lower altitude. But in normal flight, it's actually the big jet engines out on the wings that produce the oxygen for you. Now, how is that? Well, at altitude, there's plenty of oxygen. The problem is the partial pressure of the air at that altitude won't allow you to get enough oxygen to stay awake or to sustain life. And it's like being at the top of the Himalayas, right? You have to take your own oxygen with you. So that jet engine has different stages, and that big fan that you see at the beginning of it is the biggest of the stages. And then each succession of stages of fan, or those stator blades that spin at high speed, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. What are they doing? They're compressing the air that comes into the engine. So we can take the oxygen that's actually out there and compress it all the way down to a state that is breathable. In other words, down to sea level, if you will, for us inside the airplane. And so some of that air, before it gets in, the fuel gets injected and it gets burned out the back of the engine to produce thrust, some of that low pressure air gets bled off the engine, gets sent to the pack units on the airplane. And those units are the air conditioning units on the airplane, because that air, now that once it gets compressed, it's really hot. So it's got to get cooled down. It gets circulated throughout the airplane. About 60% of your breathable oxygen on the airplane comes in through that system. The other 40% goes through the HEPA filters. All of it goes through the HEPA filters, but the other 40% is recirculated air inside the airplane. Now you know. I'm Captain Steve. Fly safe. Wait, don't go yet. Do me a favor. Become Captain Steve's new best friend. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe.
Version 2 of this dumb idea. First try. Oh no. Oh, what the. Oh boy. Okay, I'll be back. Okay.
This is what they show us on TV to make us fall in love with the snow. Oh, it's so beautiful, it's so pretty, it's so white. I'd love to see it in person. This is what they don't show us on TV.
I see people getting this wrong all the time. Do you know what these zigzag lines actually mean? What the rules are? Well, when you're on a road and you see short lines with long gaps, they are just there to separate the traffic. When those lines get longer, they're now called hazard lines. You're driving towards some kind of hazard. There's more paint, there's more danger or more restrictions. Sometimes you'll see a solid line. And this solid line means that your wheels should not go over that line, not unless you're overtaking something that's going 10 miles per hour or less, or you're passing a vehicle that's broken down, for example. Now, when you see zigzag lines, there's even more paint, even more danger. And you'll see zigzag lines like that and a crossing like this. You're not allowed to overtake the vehicle that's closest to the crossing. And you're not allowed to park on these zigzag lines. If you park on these lines, this driver can't see people on the crossing as well. And people on the crossing can't see what's driving towards them. So zigzag lines, no parking, no overtaking. I hope that makes sense. If it does, let me know. Give me a thumbs up in the comments.
In the background of this video, there is something you gotta see. It's from Hampi, India. There are 52 of these pillars in this temple that are tuned to 7 notes. As he was playing, I saw one of the notes on the wall. Probably like, that's not a music note. No, it is a frequency, actually. One that we can see with cymatics. Hindu temples are kind of like a book. This pillar, for example, looks like a 3D sound wave. But you couldn't play that or that. It's just showing amplitude. To see the details, you have to look into the sound wave with cymatics. It forms what looks like a flower. Now you have the frequency the pillar resonates at. This is Baalbek in Lebanon. It's a piece of the ceiling. Purple cymatic is a 6-fold frequency. In the middle is the flower. The Corinthian order would put the flower on the top of the capital. In ancient Greece, they would put these on the top of the Ionic capitals. Hindu temples are head-to-toe detailed. Highly encourage you to check these out if you have not. The detail will make you question everything. It's like an instruction manual for the universe written in stone. It's truly amazing.